15 seconds.
Yep.
All right, very good. Welcome, everyone, to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we're talking Week 5 in the NFL. Another week where, man, COVID's starting to hit a little bit, it feels like. It's making these lineup decisions. If you're in a league that doesn't give you any kind of contingency plans for Tuesday night, you're just in a it's rough, I would say. And then today we get the Dak injury, which is just never cool to see. You feel for the guy, and shoot, I feel for him. Even makes it even a worse situation knowing he doesn't have the long-term contract. And I don't think that will affect it, but it's still knowing he doesn't have that long-term deal. Oh man, that's where it makes it rough too. Like, this is a guy who's about to, the way he was playing, I mean, he's going to get all that money, right? And then I still think he does, but it just makes it even worse. It's just rough.
I think he gets paid, but you think that it will affect it a little bit.
Yeah, it's just rough. It's just rough.
And it all depends on what Dalton does too. Like, as much as now you want Dallas to kind of do well, and you want Dalton to do well too for the most part, but if he does well in the system, obviously that hurts Dak, right?
Yep. Because
they say, oh, we can do it with different quarterbacks. It's not just like we don't need you. And I know it's a crappy way to look at it, but quarterbacks are making so much money. It's anything to save $1 million. They're $1 million there. And I'm very interested to see what Dalton can do behind center now, because, he's another one kind of like Winston, who took the cheap deal for a 1-year thing. I'm going to play backup. Hopefully next year I have more of an opportunity. He's finally going to get some highlight reel stuff. He'll tape again. And he's an accurate quarterback. And with those 3 wide receivers, I think he can still do something. Mm-hmm. But it'll be very interesting.
Yeah, so we might as well talk about this game first. So switch. That was probably going to be the last one, but we talk about the Dallas game here.
Sure.
So, Dak gets the injury. Dallas does, though, come back. They do get the 37-34 win there. They came back and got that thing. Dak, while he was in there, was 14-21, 166. No touchdowns. He did have a pick, but it was early enough yet where you never know. I mean, that's the way the Cowboys have been playing. He probably is going to put up some points there. Dalton did come in and go 9 for 11 for 111. He was efficient. He played well. But this is, I think, actually, in a weird way, it's going to help Zeke, because the way I've watched a lot of Cowboys games so far this year. I have Zeke on my fantasy teams. So I watched a lot of this, and it felt like this offense used to be catered around Zeke a lot more, and it wasn't that way, right? Mike McCarthy came in, and normally, you're running the ball Zeke on first down, second down. That's seemed to be typical, and that wasn't happening. But I got a feeling with Andy Dalton, they're just going to switch up what they do a little bit. In Zeke's numbers, like, he gets 19 carries today. I think you're going to see a lot more Zeke than you were. So in that way, I guess it's good for Zeke owners. I'm just looking at, I don't want to say injuries are good for anybody, because it feels rough, but this is fantasy. So fantasy wise, I think it could be a plus for Zeke, and we'll see how that goes. Wide receivers wise, I don't know what it's going to do. I mean, I think Dalton's good, and I think he's good enough. He didn't have these kind of weapons in Cincinnati ever. AJ Green was a good one, but it never had this group of players like he does here. And CeeDee Lamb, I think CeeDee Lamb's a legitimate star at this point already, early. 8 for 124, he can play. And, Cooper didn't do anything. Gallup did 4 for 73, didn't do a lot, but mainly off a 38-yarder. But Lamb's a star here. Dalton, I think, is going to be good enough to keep them in this, especially in the NFC East, which is terrible. So,
oh yeah, without a doubt. I still think they're 2-3, and they have a long way to go with that defense. Obviously, giving up 34 points to the New York Giants, but besides for that, I think the offense will be fine. Andy Dalton was always an accurate quarterback. Maybe he's not as dynamic as someone like Dak.
Oh, definitely
he can't run. It does change the playbook. You're not going to do that trick play where you're going to throw it to Dalton, right? Like, those are the kind of things you take out of the playbook. But you have a lot of weapons for him. So I agree with you. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with the wide receivers. I don't think a lot changes. CeeDee Lamb has been one of the more consistent ones. I do wonder if Cooper takes a step back. As far as like he did have some good games. I don't know what to do with them, but they're all playable. And like you said, Zeke is the one that like the cornerstone. You're like, okay, you can still rely on him.
Yeah.
What as far as Andy Dalton goes, seeing what Dak was able to do, he's not going to do that. But
No.
how willing are you to throw him into your lineup, say next week?
Not terribly. I guess I know. I mean, too much of Andy Dalton of last year. I mean, years past, he wasn't the worst fantasy option. He wasn't really a great fantasy option, but he was somebody you at least considered on a bye week fill-in type streaming situation. And this is a good offense. This is probably a better situation than he's been in offensively. So he's going to be worth a look. It's going to be matchup based, but he's going to be worth a look, especially in the NFC East, though. He's going to have a lot of good matchups. So he's going to probably, he's going to be down on the list of streamers. I think so. I think he will be. Giants. Let's talk about the Giants real quick. Daniel Jones, 222 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. He has not thrown a touchdown since week 1. How does an NFL quarterback not throw a touchdown in 4 weeks? That's bad.
Yeah.
And they scored 34 points. And they scored 34 points, and he still didn't get – I mean, I don't know. So he's not that good. Evan Ingram ran one in, thank God, because if you started Evan Ingram, he had one catch for 16 yards. He ran one in. I'll say Devontae Freeman, he didn't look bad. He showed there's a little something there yet with Devontae Freeman. Not spectacular, but there's at least something there. And you know what? He's going to be the guy for them, it looks like, even though they're a bad team. If anything, he's the guy. I guess so. If you're down on your luck and need to play Devontae Freeman, there could be a lot worse options out there. So, then a good game from Darius Slayton, 8 for 129, which is going to be hard to have good games though with Daniel Jones as your quarterback.
Yeah, I think that one's kind of like that warning sign when you see someone like that go over 100 yards. You want to cheer for him. You want to like throw him on your bench. You want to like stream him. But I am hesitant, besides for Devontae Freeman, like you said, just because of the sheer volume, and you hope he gets in the end zone like he did today, even though, not overly impressive, but he wasn't bad. Mm-hmm. I hesitate to throw anyone from this team into the roster because I just think that Dallas Cowboys too, their defense is really, really rough. Like they give up points everywhere.
Oh yeah.
This was the best case scenario. So I don't want people to get too high of, an idea of what Darius Slayton is able to do on this offense.
It does show that. I mean, the Cowboys gave up 34 in this one. I know one was was an interception, I believe, return, if I'm not mistaken.
It was a defense, yeah.
So still, either way. So even they gave up 27 points. Other than that, they're a bad defense. They're just a bad defense if they're giving up that to the Giants. So they're not very good. All right. How about Panthers Falcons? Panthers get the 23-16 win. I'm surprised as we're recording this, Dan Quinn still has a job. I'm actually shocked. Yeah. I was watching the end of that game, and what's their owner's name? Arthur Blank, I believe, something like that. He's sitting there on the sideline. Actually, I thought he was about to fire Quinn there before he walked off the field. He was sitting there watching. I know he watches on the sideline often, but I really thought he was going to get fired as they left the field. But he still has his job, I guess, for now. But Panthers get that win with 2 touchdowns from Bridgewater, 313 yards. That's very solid for Teddy Bridgewater. I underestimate Teddy Bridgewater a lot, but that was pretty good for him. And
yeah, I mean, don't get ahead of yourself either. Like we went.
It was good. Oh, it's a bad defense. A bad defense again.
Yeah. And yeah, he's a fine quarterback. He's not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but he's also not a difference maker. He had a good game, but it was against a bad defense. I'm waiting for him to do it against, at least a medium, like an average NFL defense, whatever that may be. And the one thing, and I hold true to this because we kind of went off on a tangent last week about DJ Moore. And my whole thing was like, hey, I would be willing to part ways with him because I don't believe in this offense, what they're going to do. Look, he had a good game today. I think this is a perfect time to try to ship him. That is me. I know you're a bigger fan. What do you think about that? Because he does it, 93 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah. I don't think you can get I just don't know if the value's there, honestly. Maybe it is. I just don't feel like there's value. I don't think in general there's ever been like a lot of value for DJ Moore. He was solid last year, but I don't know. I don't think there's a lot out there, but maybe you can try to shop him. He only had 5 targets today though, compared to Robbie Anderson's 13.
I know. Robbie Anderson has turned into kind of the clear-cut number one option on that offense. Maybe it's not a one-for-one deal. Maybe, but maybe DJ Moore is a great sweetener in order to kind of get the person you really want, a two-for-one. DJ Moore is still, still a name. People do like him. But you're probably right. I don't know if there is a one-for-one scenario in there.
I do like him. I like DJ Moore, but he's not that wide receiver one I was hoping he could possibly be. He's not that. It's just not there right now. And Robbie Anderson, 8 for 112, solid game for him again. But Mike Davis is doing his best Christian McCaffrey impression.
He keeps turning out good performances. Yeah. And here's my only worry as a Christian McCaffrey owner. When he comes back, if Mike Davis is able to do this on that team, obviously I believe that CMC will step right back in. He'll do wonderfully. Do you think that – they're 3-2. They're like in it, so they're going to use Christian McCaffrey quite a bit. But do you think that Mike Davis, because he showed that he's capable, will cut into the carries, the catches, whatever it may be? I would, because, hey, why not try to keep CMC a little more healthy?
I would think so. It's Matt Rule. We don't have a lot of history with him as an NFL coach, obviously, so I don't really know what his philosophy is going to be. But I do believe Mike Davis has earned some time and some touches. It's still McCaffrey's McCaffrey, right? Then you hear these people, these idiots out there. I'll just call them idiots. I don't know what to call them. Basically, this shows in a way McCaffrey wasn't as good as people thought. And it's just the offense. I've seen some of that crap
too. Where the Tom Brady's a system quarterback.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, okay, slow down. You don't turn in those kind of performances if that's all it is. And if a running back has a good offensive line and a good scheme, they're going to do better, right? But you can say that about any good running back. Talk about Todd Gurley on the other side of the ball. Yeah, he had a really good game today.
Yeah.
And look, he goes up and down year to year, but that is completely due to team and whatnot. So it does not take anything away from CMC just because Mike Davis was able to be successful in this offense.
Mike Davis is no slouch. He's been a solid running back. He just was in Chicago last year. He didn't do much, but Chicago just isn't great. They were terrible last year,
But let's be honest, did you think that he was going to do this well?
No, not at all.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, you say he's not a slouch, but I was
I knew he was
really.
We knew he was at least capable of. I thought it was more going to be like just a volume thing, with enough volume he still would be viable, but not like with the volume he'd actually be good, which is crazy.
Yeah, I did not know that they were going to use him as well or as much as CMC in the passing game. I think that's where I really just didn't think that they were going to be like, we're not changing anything.
Yep.
You're just going to play that role. And he had 9 catches today. 60 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
That is almost more. That is more impressive to me than the 16 carries for 89 yards, even though it's a 5.5 yard per average, which is great by any metric. I'm really impressed by that. But overall, it feels like the running back is great. Robbie Anderson has turned into a very solid. I don't know what you would call him, a wide receiver 2.
I'd have to watch more of the Panthers to really see what's happening. Is it just the number one corner is on DJ Moore and it's just freeing up Anderson? It might be. I know it was last week. Patrick Peterson was on DJ Moore, but that's fine. If that's going to happen for Robbie Anderson, it's great. It's great for him. So
that is definitely part of it, but obviously people are still more afraid of DJ Moore because Robbie Anderson has been doing this consistent, all 5 weeks pretty much.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see if that does change, or if maybe Teddy Bridgewater just really trusts him and he, they vibe when he's coming out of his cuts. He kind of sees it happening. Robbie Anderson, once again, he was able to be decent or relevant. I'll just say relevant on New York Jets, which is hard to do. So once again, it's kind of one of these guys that you doubt because he was on a bad team, but he's proving he can be a very valuable asset.
For the Falcons, actually, before we get to the Falcons, hey Jeff, Lakers are up 24 right now.
Yeah, I was.
How you feel about that?
I really wanted force a game 7, but that does not look good.
Just under a minute or 2 minutes left in the first half. It's not bad. All right, Falcons. Matt Ryan has been really bad for the last 3 weeks. He has not thrown a touchdown in the last 2 weeks, and he only threw 1 the week before. I know in our league, I traded Matt Ryan for a defense last week, and people kind of looked at that like, oh, what's going on? Why would you trade a quarterback for a defense? But I think that defense has probably been better the last 2 weeks in scoring-wise than Matt Ryan even has. And I don't know what is it Julio? Is it just not having Julio out there? Has I think that's a lot to do with it. Without Julio opens things up for everybody. And Ridley's still having good numbers, but Julio is just such a good player. And I'm going to give Matt Ryan the benefit of the doubt that that's what's going on.
Yeah, I think he'll be okay. And Matt Ryan is, he has been a little up and down throughout his career, usually year to year, not necessarily game to game. But hey, we know that he can sling it. We know that he can do pretty good. And remember only a week ago or so when people were freaking out about Calvin Ridley and been like, how much do you trust him and whatnot?
For his zeros.
Look what he was able to do today. Yeah, 8 for 136. Like he is fine. Like do not panic with him.
Yep, and Todd Gurley looked more. That's the Todd Gurley we remember. Even though it's in a loss, there's still at least some signs. Like if Julio gets healthy, I can see this offense being good, but they're 0-5. It's just it's weird.
Yeah, that actually worries me more. It worries me to have a bad Atlanta team in a COVID year where, especially with Todd Gurley and aging assets, right? Like you have Julio Jones, you have Matt Ryan, you have Todd Gurley. It worries me as in, when do you say, hey, let's pack it up and play for next year? We can get the younger guys involved more. I do worry about that a bit.
Yep. Lakers are up 30 now.
Oh, that
make it 28.
Butler's just waiting in the wings. He's gonna come bring him back.
All right. How about we move over to Raiders Chiefs? Raiders beat the Chiefs 40-32.
What a game on that one.
Man, Gruden's doing some coaching. Yeah, Gruden's doing a good job here. He really
I
is.
would go above and beyond. I say great. And he's had injuries. He doesn't have the most talented team, and he's doing what he needs to in order to win.
Yep.
They're playing pretty good defense. Their offense is, they're rushing the ball very effectively. And the passing game has beyond my imagination of what it actually could be, because you look at who they have, as a wide receiving core, and knowing that Ruggs was hurt for a big part of it. Their number one got hurt for the season right away. Their young buck coming in was hurt. I'm not sure if he played in this game or not. And so you have Darren Waller and you're kind of like, and Hunter Renfrow, and you're kind of like, all right, be productive. I'm very blown away by how well the Raiders did. And this is the cherry on top. Even if they didn't win this game, I would have been very impressed with what they were able to do. But this is, what they were talking about, how this is the first loss for KC in almost a calendar year.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. So a very, very cool game. I'm glad to see it. Derek Carr, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 347 yards. He had a very good game. Josh Jacobs did what Josh Jacobs does, right? They rushed him a lot. 23 carries, 77 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's the guy you want on that team. And then other than that, Aguilar, Waller, and Ruggs all get a touchdown. Henry Ruggs is that deep threat. We finally got to see it now that he's a little bit healthy.
Yeah.
What is your thought on him moving forward?
He has that speed and he's going to get big touchdowns like this. Just want to see more targets. Only 3 targets today. But I think that's going to come. He showed enough in that little bit there that this guy could play, obviously, right? He had the 72-yarder, and then what was the other one? The other one was like a 46-yarder. So, that's all you need is 2 catches a day if you're just going to get a 72-yarder and a 46-yarder. I'll see more. I think the targets are going to come for him.
Do you think, and you look at this team, and obviously part of it is what I talked about with injury and everything like that, but you look at this and the amount of targets they spread over a large amount of people. I'm looking at 12 names at least. I can't count them really quick, but Waller has 7. Other than that, you have Jalen Richard, who had 5, and then it goes down from there. No one has a huge portion of this. Waller is pretty safe, as many targets as he's going to get. But do you believe that is the game plan, or are they waiting for someone to establish themselves?
If Ruggs proves himself, I think Gruden's going to want to have the ball go to Ruggs. Knowing John Gruden, it feels like that's something he'd like to do. But obviously, this is part of the game plan: spread the ball around. Alec Ingold had 4 targets; he was the 3rd leading on targets. It's going everywhere. But in the same thing, they're not just using Jacobs either. They're getting Devontae Booker on running a little bit, 7 carries, and Booker had a 43-yarder there. They're just doing the things the right way right now on this team. I like it. It's really going to go though with Derek Carr. If Derek Carr can play like this, Las Vegas, which is still weird, Las Vegas is going to be good. Much better than we thought. So
Yeah. Okay. So other side of the ball,
Yeah.
what is the takeaway from the KC loss?
It's really just the defense, I guess, needs to be better because the offense was okay. I mean, not okay. Mahomes, this is like the worst day you'll ever see from Mahomes with that 22 of 43. That's poor. That completion percentage is terrible. He still turns it into 340 and 2 touchdowns. He threw a pick, but he did run in for a touchdown as well. But this is the worst you're going to get from him. And, you'll take it fantasy-wise. He was still fine. It just, he's not going to get worse than this. The other thing is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 80 total yards, though only 10 carries. We had that big opening game, what was that Thursday night? And everyone was just, wow, this is going to be a massive year for Edwards-Helaire. And it hasn't been that since that night, that opening game where he went 25 carries for 138. I mean, he's caught the ball enough to make some of these worthwhile, but rushing the ball, he was 10 for 38, 20 for 64, 16 for 64, 10 for 40. Not that hasn't. It's not like they did opening game. I'll say that. So,
and what is your feeling about? Yeah, what is your feeling about him? Right.
Well, I'm not worried.
I'm always looking for trades or trade appeal. Obviously, he's a huge name and he has a big upside. Would you rather go for a proven commodity at this point and leverage his name brand right now?
I just don't know what you trade for. That's the problem right now with fantasy football in 2020. Where do you go? I mean, in my rankings this week, I had James Robinson and Mike Davis in my top 10. Like, where do you go? Like Zeke. I mean, you got Zeke and Kamara and Cook, but no one's trading you those 3 for Edwards-Helaire right now. What else is there? I just don't know what it is. I honestly don't know how you make that deal. And even at the wide receiver level, who would you trade him for a wide receiver right now? I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is awesome, but no one's going to trade you DeAndre Hopkins probably. I mean, where do you go? I don't even know what you do. I think you have to hold him because he is the guy. Even though he only had 10 carries, Darrell Williams only had 1. There's no one else. It's all him. So I think it'll correct itself. I just don't think there's anything you can do about it. You just have to play him. And, I mean, he's going to be fine. I'm not saying he's not been bad for fantasy. It's just not been opening game week.
No, without a doubt. And that's why I was wondering. But you make a good point. It's like, what can you get for him?
I just don't know what it is.
Yeah. But what about something like a team that's floundering? Christian McCaffrey. Would you trade Edwards-Helaire for Christian McCaffrey? You're going to lose out on I don't know how many more weeks he's going to be out, but
I couldn't do it yet.
Assume 2 more.
I would need more info on McCaffrey.
Gotcha.
Right now it's 2 up in the air. It feels like, but and then the rest for the Chiefs. I say Kelsey was 8 for 108 and touchdown, so he's great. And Tyreek Hill 3 catches, 78 yards, and ran 1 in. So, and Sammy Watkins I believe got a touchdown catch, but he also got hurt. So that's not a surprise.
Yeah, that's what we've come to expect from Watkins.
Yep. Cardinals, Jets. Cardinals win easy, 30-10. Jets are really, really bad at football. Joe Flacco isn't really going to do much for you. So Kyler Murray, he could be better. He could be a better quarterback. There's still some things there, but he turns it into 380 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, rushes the ball 31 yards and a touchdown. For fantasy, he's still great. He still has some work as an NFL quarterback, but DeAndre Hopkins is going to hide a lot of those flaws. I mean, 1 drive, back-to-back, just ridiculous catches from Hopkins. 1 of them for a touchdown, 6 for 131 and touchdown. Just great. Hopkins is amazing, and that's going to make Kyler look good all year. On the ground, Drake got himself a touchdown to make it so it wasn't so terrible. 18 carries, 60 yards, 3.3 yards per carry. Ugly, but it got a touchdown. Chase Edmonds only ran the ball 3 times. 1 of them was a 29-yard touchdown. You keep waiting for the day. Like, are the touches going to come around a little bit there, make it a little more even? Drake is not like running away with this battle. That's for sure. He is just not. He just doesn't look very good. He doesn't. No. Edmonds deserves a shot.
I was going to say every game Edmonds gets closer and closer. And this one, especially, he did very well with all 3 touches he got. But he had the 5 catches. He had the 5 catches for 56. Yeah, he outplayed him in the receiving game.
Yep.
And that is very important to know because this team, I mean, they played the Jets, right? Mm-hmm. So near the end, you can run the ball a lot. But, until Kyler kind of pulls it together, I mean, 380 yards is impressive. But when you only can get in, throw 1 touchdown from that, a little bit of a red flag as far as, just being young and not knowing how to get it done in the red zone at the moment. But because of that, you have to believe that the back who catches the ball is going to be more productive in the majority of these games. In my mind, I think Edmonds is going to be one of those guys where, you see the tide turning.
Yep. For the Jets, Joe Flacco I don't really care about Joe Flacco. Jamison Crowder is just putting together good game after good game. And is this what we expect now for him? 8 for 116. This is his year so far. 7 for 115, 7 for 104, 8 for 116. 13 targets, 10 targets, 10 targets. That's Jamison Crowder. And he is a lot better than I expected. And, I don't see why it's not going to continue. He's done it 3 games now. And this is exactly what he's done for 3 games.
Yeah, with different quarterbacks too. I mean, it's part of the offense, right? Yeah, I 100% agree. Jamison Crowder would be great to have on your team, especially in PPR. And on top of that, I don't like to have Jets players necessarily, but he is
Crowder. I'd be okay with.
Very good. Yeah, I'm absolutely good with him. Le'Veon Bell in a pinch because you need running back help.
So if someone were to present Le'Veon Bell with a time machine, would he use it and go back and not leave Pittsburgh?
I would think so. Yeah, he would still be turning out really good games as we've seen from Connor and everything. I mean, I don't think it's worth. I don't think it's worth the. I don't know. Maybe you won a few pride points or whatever it may be. Like he feels good about himself to walk away from a situation he didn't really like. But I have to believe that he was like, maybe not a great move.
And Antonio Brown, same question to Antonio Brown. I think he takes it too.
Well, I think he's kind of a crazy person, so he would say no. But yeah, absolutely. Or how about this? How about you just don't run away from the Raiders when they're a year away from being
true.
A team?
Yeah, but Bell just he wanted so much money, and the only team willing to give him to him was the Jets. And that right there should have just showed him. That should have told him all he needed to know. When the only
it should show you that most teams don't overpay their running backs. You just can't have a good team doing that.
Chris Herndon is not a thing, so stop talking about Chris Herndon, people. So he's just not a thing. 2 for 24. All right. Oh, speaking of the Steelers win 38-29. So and the big story here,
for this moment.
Chase Claypool. What a game. What a game. Like 7 for 110, 3 touchdowns. He even ran the ball in for 1. And there was another one. I think he got called for like an offensive pass interference or something on it. But still, he caught it. It would have been. I think he might have even stepped out, but it was close to not. And it would have been another touchdown. He seemed just like he's a grown man really out there. You know what I mean? He's like
a big dude. Yeah.
He was good. He was good. And Ben Roethlisberger, Juju doesn't exist to Ben anymore, right? It's Chase Claypool now. Like that was impressive. That was an impressive
Chase
day.
Claypool is going to obviously be like the number 1 waiver pickup, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or you could have just had him and
actually
had him in your starting lineup.
Yeah, right.
So I'm feeling good, man. I'm going to steal a win this week because of him. So, buoy. But I'm so glad. Out of the only good thing, the only good thing about all these injuries and this weird year is we do get to see some of these rookies probably performing a little quicker than they normally would, right? Unless you're Odell. That 1 year we throw out. But like him, Justin Jefferson, obviously a Lair and the running backs of that nature. But it's great to see this because you can really figure out who is going to keep going, who is maybe a keeper if you have those kind of rules in your league. Chase Claypool jumped to the top of the list. I mean, if he is able to do this, he jumped to number 2, like option on that team behind Juju, maybe. But I've asked you this many times today, but what do you see for the rest of the year for Chase Claypool it was actually a historic, the amount, like 4 touchdowns, the amount you have to go back in order to find the rookie to do that, or even anyone. It doesn't happen all that often. What do you see for Claypool? I mean, he's not going to score 4 touchdowns every week, but is he the number 1 now? Or
I don't want to be too reactionary on this, okay? I don't want to be caught in the moment of just this awesome game. But a couple things that go along with this. Juju Smith-Schuster has really not been impressive this year. He's been 6 for 6. The first week he had the 6 for 69, but he got the 2 touchdowns. So we were like, okay, it's going to be good. After that, he went 7 for 48, 4 for 43, did get a touchdown, but then 4 for 28. It's been 3 games under 50 yards. And even the one game was under 70. You know what? I'm not gonna say like right away that Claypool is their number one, but I mean, it's not gonna take much. And maybe Juju's better suited to have a guy like Claypool out there. Maybe this will help Juju. He was obviously great when he had Antonio Brown as his number one with him. We'll see. I mean, and then you got to think there's still Deontay Johnson, which is just means when he's healthy, like, I mean, he went out of this one, but if he's healthy, and this is a great receiving group here. I don't know if it's going to be like this every week with Claypool, not this every week, but I'm not ready to say he's the number one yet, but it won't take much, honestly. It'll take like one more week where I see him just completely involved and getting everything and be like, oh yeah, it happened. He's that guy already. It won't take much, but Juju, I mean, there's really hasn't been much going on there.
No, it hasn't. And as far as the run game too, they try to get a lot of different people involved. It's a different looking Steelers team as far as rushing. Usually they get one guy and they give him all of the carries. And yeah, James Conner got 15, but they gave Benny Snell 7, and then 4 other guys got to rush the ball as well. James Conner still got a touchdown, and then he caught a few for 25 yards, so he had a fine fantasy day. But I don't know, is this kind of worrying if you're a James Conner owner just because of the change in the way they play call a little bit?
You know, a little bit, because, I mean, if this is going to work, where they're going to be able to throw the ball around like this, and James Conner's not really impressing, they're gonna give other people some work, and which, yeah, that's not normal for Mike Tomlin, right? It's just not the way they usually do things, either getting 7 carries to a backup. But Conner needs to be better than that. I mean, yeah, 15 for 44, and one of them was a 25-yard run. So he had 14 carries for 19 yards.
Yeah, I was say he averaged 2.9 on the day. If you take that one run away, it was even worse.
Yep. On the Eagles side of things, Carson Wentz not playing really good this year. 258, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Miles Sanders, 11 carries, 80 yards, but in 2 touchdowns. That looks really good, right? And then you look at one of his touchdowns was a 74-yarder. So his other 10 carries were for 6 yards. But you know what? Fantasy-wise, that's 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. So it was a good day there.
And one of them was another touchdown, so it was a short yardage situation. I still wholeheartedly believe in Miles Sanders. And I know at this point you're just dealing with talent and who else they have on their team. I think Miles Sanders is still very, very solid. If he had a good game, right? 2 touchdowns. He's not going to – but if he ever wavers or if the owner is wavering, I like him as a trade partner, because I feel like he's not quite in that top tier, but I think he can put up those kind of numbers.
Then receiving wise for the Eagles, what's his name? Travis Fulgam, 10 for 152 and a touchdown. He just played his first game for them last week after they picked him up, I think, right before that. This is a former Detroit Lion who they just released. I think he also was picked up by the Packers this offseason possibly and was released. Wait, you know what? I don't know. This is crazy. Last week he did catch a touchdown. He had a nice catch too. But this is that was impressive. I just don't know what to make of that, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that Chase Claypool will get all the recognition. First of all, he is a freak. I love Chase Claypool, but he went 7 for 110. Travis Fulgham went 10 for 152. And his long was only 31. It wasn't one big bomb.
13 targets.
Just a very good outing. So I don't know what to think of him either right now. I have to do my research before I kind of figure out waivers.
It's kind of out of nowhere. So
yeah, but I mean, talk about a way to establish yourself or get some recognition. Very interesting on a team that desperately needs wide receivers. We're waiting for it. People were talking about maybe Greg Ward or let's wait for Jackson to get healthy or Elshon Jeffrey.
Yep.
If he is the real deal or if he is a decent wide receiver, he'll be thrown in there and get a lot of work. So he's going to be a great waiver ad, possibly, even though we don't know a lot about him.
Rams beat the football team 30-10. Goff throws 309, 2 touchdowns, pick. The Rams are good this year. They figured something out. You just knew Sean McVay was a good enough coach to figure out something, right? It was going to be different, but he'd figure something out. So this is just like this running back carousel they got going on here. So it was Malcolm Brown at the beginning. Then Darrell Henderson looked great. And even today, he did get he got 2 touchdowns today. One running, 1 receiving, but he didn't necessarily look that great on the ground. He had 15 carries along a 7, for 38 yards. And then Cam Akers comes in. He had 9 carries, but Bus went out for 46 yards, so it looks a lot better with the 61 total yards. And then the talk after this one is they're going to get Akers more involved next week. So I don't know what to think about these. I want to see Akers, but I don't know how you can trust even starting any of them. Not Malcolm Brown for sure is like not a thing anymore, right? But we say that, and then next week he'll be the leading receiver or running back or rusher for him. I don't know.
And I think what we had talked about earlier on, and we questioned, is this a new direction of, the Los Angeles Rams as far as spreading the ball out? You don't have a guaranteed guy. You don't have a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. You just say, everyone is capable of catching it. Let's run plays that is going to beat the defense, whatever that may be at the time.
Yep.
And that's exactly what they've continued to do. I mean, even on the receiving end, you've already talked about the carousel of a 3-headed beast as far as running back. It doesn't matter who's in the backfield. We'll hand it to whoever is there. And then the receiving crew is the same thing. Tyler Higby only had 2 catches. Josh Reynolds had 2 catches. Cooper Kupp had 5. Woods had 4. Gerald Everett had 4. And if you look too, the majority of everyone's yards came on 1 big catch. And no one overdid it, right? Like Gerald Everett is a little bit different, but he had 4 receptions for 90 yards. Looks pretty decent for a tight end. His long was 40. Robert Woods had 71 yards. His long was 56. Kupp, 66 yards. His long was 49. Mm-hmm. So it is very difficult to figure out who is going to do well, who's going to get in the end zone, which is great for the Rams, but bad for fantasy owners that cannot figure out who or when or what the idea behind the offense is, which, once again, great for them, bad for us. I can't trust anyone on that team. You have to play them if you have them. But they're another one that I would like to get away from because that situation is not fantasy friendly.
Tell me if this is a good player. Okay. 3 catches for 40 yards, 5 for 54, 2 for 40, 3 for 20, 2 for 12. Is that a good player?
I'm not playing this game. Is this Tyler Higby?
Yeah, it's Tyler Higby.
Yeah. All right. So, you know what? Yeah, maybe I was wrong about him. I thought that he was I thought they would continue to go to him, but hey, like I said, it's kind of hurting everyone at this point, and Everett is looking better, which is cool for them, but we'll find out. Higby will have big games again.
Yes.
Everyone on this team will.
Week 2, he had the 3 touchdowns, right? Since week 2, in those 3 touchdowns, he's gone 2 for 40 off 2 targets, 3 for 20 off 4 targets, and 2 for 12 off 2 targets. He's not there. He's not doing
next much. Week, because people will forget about him, he'll have another 2 touchdowns because they'll throw like little dump offs to him or whatnot. So, yeah. But anyway, jump into the other side.
That's a mess.
Yeah, I was going to say Washington.
So Kyle Allen starts, gets hurt. Alex Smith comes in. Allen was able to come back, but they still played Smith. Smith wasn't good. Allen was better than Smith. Alex Smith hasn't played in a few years, and the last time he played, his leg was nearly amputated. So, he was about to lose his leg after that game. So just not much there. And because of that, it makes it difficult for the rest to do anything. Antonio Gibson only gets 11 for 27, 5 for 24 catching. McLaurin can't get going. It's ugly. That's just ugly all around. It's just, I don't have much hope for him. The hope for Washington was that Dwayne Haskins made some kind of like leap. And obviously that's done and over with. They're talking about he's going to be traded now. It's done. That's it. I don't have any faith in anybody on that team unless maybe Kyle Allen. He was good enough, I guess, last year to make the Panthers have some, decent fantasy options, right? With, McCaffrey, DJ Moore. So maybe there's that, but I don't like it. So I don't.
Yeah. But the only takeaway besides for how bad they were, the only takeaway is good for Alex Smith. He got out
exactly.
there.
That was cool to
come back. He could have easily retired after that scare. Yep. So that is like on the opposite side of like the terrible Dak injury.
Yep.
Good for Alex Smith. That's a feel-good story. I know it's not fantasy relevant, but as a football fan, you have to feel really good about it.
Yeah. Ravens beat the Bengals 27-3. Lamar Jackson, he has not been MVP Lamar Jackson this year, but the Ravens are 4-1, so I know they don't really care too much. But for fantasy, he has just not been that just amazing player this year. In 19 for 37, 180, 2 touchdowns, a pick. It's just the running's not there this year. 2 carries for 3 yards. And maybe that's just by design this year. They just don't want to risk it, right? They want to win. They'd only care about winning the Super Bowl, right? They're going to be in the playoffs. Right. Why risk it now if you don't need to? And I think that's what we might not see those big, huge Lamar Jackson games. Even last week where the rushing was like backing away, it was really because of 1 carry. It was it. So
I think, and you do have to have a relatively good team in order, because they are going to use him sparingly, right? Why are you going to use it when you're up 17 at half, when it was 17-0? No, I'm not going to run it with my star player. Like, let's try to figure some stuff out. Let's run it with other players, get Mark Ingram involved. Let's try stuff. And hey, our defense happens to be really good too.
Yep.
Like, we know that Cincinnati is not going to move the ball on us. Let's not outsmart ourselves. So the last 2 weeks, honestly, has been that way. I mean, was it last week that they played RG3 in the fourth quarter?
Yeah.
So, hey, look, he's not even playing full games right now. And yes, absolutely. Do you care? No, his points are his points in fantasy, but I do think bigger things are coming. But he was just okay. And that is what it's been so far. And this is coming from a guy that has him. But I do believe that he will return to that, top 3 discussion. Well, I mean, and Dak is no longer a thing. But he's going to be coming back around to being a proven commodity. Yeah. I truly believe that. Maybe not MVP like we saw last year, but I think he will have some giant games. And hey, he had a decent game. And I think this is probably like what you're looking for, like floor.
Yep. Mark Ingram led him in carries, 11 for 57. I mean, J.K. Dobbins is clearly their number 3 back right now, even though he took his 1 carry for 34 yards today, 3 for 21. It's not as impressive, I'll say. That's what we said, but Marquise Brown 6 for 77, a touchdown. Andrews 6 for 56 and a touchdown. So, we'll see how this goes as the year goes on. Bengals, just an ugly game. Not much you can do here. Mixon gets himself 24 carries, only turns it into 59. He had 6 for 35 through the air. T. Higgins, 4 for 62. Boyd, 4 for 42. A.J. Green goes down with an injury. Just uglier from the Bengals. Not much going on there. All right. Let's see here. What do we got? Jaguars, Texans. Texans get the first win of the year without Bill O'Brien as their coach. Deshaun Watson looked pretty decent, I guess, fantasy-wise. He threw 2 picks, but 359 and 3 touchdowns. Brandon Cooks came alive after doing nothing last week. He gets 8 for 161 and a touchdown. I don't trust it yet, though. I'll say that. I know Cooks has this in him, but I need to see a little bit more from him. Fuller, 4 for 58, a touchdown. David Johnson, decent on the ground, 17 carries, 96 yards. Just a better offensive day for them, They're going against Jacksonville, though, so Jacksonville's just not very good. And I'll say the Jacksonville side, Minshew, 301, 2 touchdowns, no picks. James Robinson, this was probably his worst day. 70 total yards, no touchdowns. Chenault, 7 for 79, still involved there. So, and what did Chark go down with an injury in that one? I think he did, right?
I believe so. When you look and he only has 3 catches, 4 targets.
But it was in the fourth. No, it was in the fourth though. It was in the fourth.
He didn't have a great game. I mean, no one did. Yeah. But you should. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to think about Chark this year either. He's very up and down. This whole thing, I don't. There's some interesting players in both of these teams, but I don't believe in both of them. I don't really even believe in Deshaun Watson. I don't know what this offense is really going to be. No. The only bright side is because Brandon Cooks is worth very little right now. Yeah. That, he might even be on waivers and stuff. So he's worth a stash and figure out what's going on. But other than that, I mean, it's very I don't think this game told us a lot, but there were some good performances.
How about Dolphins 49ers? And wow, what happened here? Dolphins win 43-17. Garoppolo, maybe they brought him back too early from that injury, or maybe he's just not very good. I don't know what to think here. But the 49ers are 2-3 now. Dolphins with Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick puts together one of his good ones, 350 and 3 touchdowns. And he's going to have these games from, time to time. So really solid game from Fitzpatrick. And A lot of people were the beneficiary of it. I'd say Preston Williams, 4 for 106 and touchdown. Gesicki, 5 for 91. One was a 70-yarder, and then Parker only a 2 for 50, but he caught a touchdown. So Preston Williams showed up after not really doing much, and I thought it was like, get rid of this guy. He only had 6 catches through the first 4 games. Then he goes 4 for 106. So solid there.
Yeah. What do you think about Myles Gaskin?
I don't think he's great, but the volume's there. And so he's worth playing in a lot of situations. What did he have? About 91 total yards and a touchdown. So that's good. That's really solid for fantasy. You'll take that all day long. I don't know if he's great, but there's something about him they like better than Matt Breida, which we might just be wrong on Breida. He might not have had anything in him left.
Well, it's looking like that. I mean, he didn't look. Gaskin looked better on the ground than Breida did today, even though Breida did have 1 catch for 31 yards, which is always good to see. But it feels like Gaskin has a stranglehold on that backfield, and that is going to be up and down. Yep. But, hey, I mean, people have to play him, and you have to be pretty darn happy with him right now. Like, in injuries and everything like that, Gaskin is going to be a very, unsung hero.
Yep. For the Niners, with Garoppolo, I mean, if he was still hurt, that's the story of what happened. 7 for 17, 77 yards and 2 picks. C.J. Beathard came in, was not really great either. Mostert came back, 11 carries, 90 yards, and he did what he does. He had a 37-yard run. He's solid. But the thing, when he came back, Jerick McKinnon just disappeared.
Yeah, and I know a lot. I mean, I was playing against McKinnon, thank God. But that was a weird one, and I don't think they knew what to do with all of these guys. Mostert looked good again, really good. Great. Even though obviously San Fran didn't do a whole lot, he got 11 carries. He once again, like we're talking about Gaskin, Mostert does have the stranglehold on this backfield. If he's healthy, he's the guy you want to put in, and I think that is the takeaway. This is a one-back system, unlike last year. Yep. And I mean, do you feel do you have any confidence or any wait and see with any other back on this team if Mostert was healthy?
Not really. I think Mostert's the guy. He has proven to be that.
Can you drop McKinnon? I know that's a rough question, but if you needed the spot,
I think you can.
How much you believe in Mostert?
I think you can. Yeah, I think you can. Niners receivers, Ayuk, 3 for 44. Kittle, only 4 for 44. Devo, 2 for 19. So, yeah. It's not a good game for the Niners. They should be a good team, so hopefully they bounce back. All right, so final game here. Final one for us to talk about. Browns, Colts. Browns win 32-23. Browns are for real. They're actually a good football team here. And Baker, 247 yards, 2 touchdowns, did throw 2 picks. Odell Beckham was 1 for 1 for 18 yards throwing the ball. Kind of like we expected. This was the Kareem Hunt backfield. Dearness Johnson did get some carries, but we knew this wasn't going to be a split. This wasn't going to be the case. But Hunt didn't overly impress with those 20 carries, but he did get a touchdown receiving the ball. But the Colts have a good defense. So
very good.
So this is, in a way, when grading on a curve, this was a pretty solid game, I would say, for, offensively. Give them that.
Yeah, this is exactly what I want to see. Would I have loved him to break off a run? Yeah, sure. But not only that, but you were also involved in the passing game to the point where you caught a touchdown. You had a good outing against a very good defense. And, and Ernest Johnson didn't cut into you too badly. And you got the win. If I'm a Hunt owner, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm absolutely set. If he can do this against them, then moving forward, he is going to be a beast like we've seen as the number one. It wasn't just like Chubb wears him down and then Hunt comes in and, kind of takes him by surprise.
Yep.
Very good to see all around. And then, Odell and Jarvis, they had decent games. But, Higgins and Hunt are the ones that end up getting the touchdown. So no one overly impresses. But it is good to see that Odell, even though he only had, 58 yards, it's good to see they're still trying to involve him. They're trying to figure out ways to get him the ball. And obviously even passing it, they're just trying, what play can we call just to make him in it, to make sure he stays, in the correct headspace.
For the Colts, Rivers just is not very good right now. 243, no touchdowns, 2 picks. Jonathan Taylor gets himself a rushing touchdown, but only 12 carries. But he's solid with those carries. It's just not a huge workload right now. That was T.Y. Hilton's best game. 6 for 69 off 10 targets, just when we left him for dead too. But still not great, but at least he's involved at this point. But
yeah, I'm very impressed in a way. I mean, Colts were 3-1 coming into this, and they put up 23 points. I mean, they were very close to being in this game. And Phillip Rivers had it was an abysmal game. It was very, very bad by any stretch of the imagination. If he gets back on track and he plays better than he has been, this Colts team is going to be like for real. I mean, I wish they had a better quarterback at the moment. Phillip Rivers could be that guy. I don't know if it's just age finally got to him, but when you only lose to a team that was 3-1 coming into this as well, which was pretty decent, and I know they have a good pass rush, but hey, you lose by 9 points and your quarterback does literally nothing for you. Yeah. So I don't know. It's something to take away from the Colts. I know Colts fans were probably pretty down about this loss, but you guys are putting together something pretty special.
Yep. All right. That'll do it, though, for the Week 5 recap. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to talk about some waiver wire pickups for you guys. Talk to you then.